sell out. My Highland don't sell out. Please don't sell out.
You're in tune to Reach FM 96.1 on the FM band. It's now time for Make We Talk Tuesdays with Jeffrey Tavares.
Good morning. We're listening, watching from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean. This is Roots on the 6.1 FM. Make We Talk with yours truly, Jeffrey Tavares, the defender, and Wilfred Rattigan, the rebel. We are going to speak about, yes, sir. We're going to speak about Jamaica's democracy. Is the democracy in this country at stake? We're going to speak about that. We're going to speak about the recent SOE. We're going to speak about the corruption of $13.8 billion. Petrojam scandal of $5.3 billion. The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information of $700 million. This morning, Jamaicans from all over the globe, from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean, is watching us this morning. People all the way from South Africa. People from London, England. I have some family members who live in London, England. They're up at this time, you know, it's in the evening in London, England at the moment, and they're watching us. I know Mr. Rattigan has some of his in-laws over there in Johannesburg, South Africa. And, you know, they're all up watching us to see what is really going on in our land of wood and water. Is Jamaica water system going to be privatized to private investors, the NWC? The Ministry of Health is in crisis, where you have the bathroom facilities worse than Riverton Dome, yet billions and billions of dollars in donor funds and loans is given to the health sector. The police force, they don't even have a proper, some of them don't even have proper vehicles to drive. They've been calling Wilfred Rattigan to buy engines for the cars. And the Minister of National Security and Injustice, along with the Commissioner of Police, or should I say no Commissioner of Police, I hear this morning the Prime Minister licking out against our good friend Rowan James. But let me say something this morning. If what Corporal Rowan James is saying, who is the chairman for the Police Federation, if what he's saying, Prime Minister Honest, if it is a lie, then come and tell the people of this country that what Rowan James is saying is a lie. And same way, Prime Minister Holness, you went into the Parliament of Jamaica to justify, to bulldoze down poor people's houses and land in Burnett Lodge, that there's criminal elements selling off the land. The question to you this morning, Prime Minister Holness, is the principal of the school in your constituency, is she a part of the Klansman gang? Is she a part of the criminal element that is trying to sell off the lands, Prime Minister Holness? Anyway, I behave myself this morning. The rebel is on. The man from Waterhouse, good morning to all my friends over there in Waterhouse who's listening to us. Rima Jungle, Tivale, according to Ronita Adams. Good morning. The defender for poor people, Jeffrey Tavares, is on, along with the rebel, Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent, attorney at law. Mr. Rattigan, good morning to you, sir.
Yes, good morning, Defender. Good morning to your listening audience and your viewing audience. And also a special shout out to the fireman, Conrad O'Brien, on
Indeed.
Straight Talk 93 FM. I was just on his program and skipped over to come join your program because you know where it go. You know, we have to support each other. It's one fight, one team. So
yes,
that's where we are.
You know something, Mr. Rattigan? This morning I got up when you and our good friend Mr. Brian called me. Before I got up, I was lying in my bed and I was thinking about our country. And I said to myself, I come on every Tuesday or every time I get to come on, and we just, I'm just talking and talking. What can be done to our beloved island? Here the Prime Minister give another state of emergency, SOE. And, we say to ourselves, because he's saying that's not the only crime plan, and that's not the crime plan that he has in his back pocket to fight crime. Then tell us what else you have, Prime Minister. Corporal Rowan James is saying that we need boots and whatever. And he's saying to us that the Prime Minister is saying to us that whatever Corporal James is saying is nonsense. In other words, he did not call Corporal James' name. But anybody who have common sense should know that he's talking about the chairman of the Police Federation. Because the chairman of the Police Federation, in mince word this couple of days ago, at the funeral of a slain colleague who wasn't wearing a ballistic vest, was gunned down in front of the police station in downtown Kingston. Mr. Rattigan, we're going to talk about so many things. This morning we're going to start with the SOE. What is your views on it, sir?
The SOE, it can be part of, well, first of all, states of emergency are completely constitutional and legal. The problem is how it's implemented. And the Jamaican court, at least one court, and I believe, well, there are two decisions. I don't know if they came out of the same court, but there are two court decisions standing for the principle that the SOEs as implemented are unconstitutional. And in fact, the government was required to pay millions of dollars to the complainants. And I think in one case, there were about 5 complainants who were detained as a result of an SOE for anywhere ranging from 4.5 months to over a year without being charged. And they claimed that their detention was illegal, unlawful, and unconstitutional. And the court agreed with them. Now, the interesting thing about this is we tend to say, well, the Prime Minister did this and the Prime Minister did that and the government did this and the government did that. But there is, and I've been saying it now, and I hope that Jamaicans take to their constitution. You don't even have to get the hard copy. I mean, with the digital age, you can just pull it down. You can get it online. And then all you have to do is read that thing through. Read it through. I'm going to give 3 sources to find out how important the Governor General is. Read the Constitution. Go to the Governor General's website. Read his website, and then look at the court cases that explain, that determine, that interpret the various aspects of the Constitution. Because what you will find is that no state of emergency can take effect without the Governor General's signature. The Prime Minister must go to him and ask for him to proclaim it. If he doesn't proclaim it, then there is no state of emergency. Now there's a state of emergency. I'm being told that a state of emergency was declared today. And it's unfortunate because the court decision still stands. The matter has been appealed. The matter where the court ruled against the government, it has been appealed. So until it's overturned by an appeal court, that is the law of the land. And the government has decided to supersede it on their own. They've decided to, as fireman would say, abrogate and abridge it and trample on people's rights. Now, there are some who say that the Governor General's role is purely ceremonial. I beg to differ. He is the chief executive, despite what people may tell you, and he has a significant role to play on the legislative side. Parliament cannot start without him. He's the one who's going to appoint all of these people. Now, the Prime Minister may recommend, but he has the Governor General, he approves, he signs off on. And if he doesn't sign off, if he doesn't want to, that's his prerogative, because on his website, he says that he's nonpartisan and he's responsible for providing independent and objective guidance to the Jamaican government. Now, for the people who would say, well, he's forced to do it because of his constitutional position. He represents the monarchy, he represents the king, and therefore, you know, it's ceremonial. Let me just read you something here. In chapter 3 of the Constitution, the Jamaican Constitution, it's entitled Chapter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms. In section 32, subsection 3, subsection 32 is entitled Exercise of Governor General's Functions. And then you go to subsection 3 of section 32, where it reads, where the Governor General is directed to exercise any function after consultation with any person or authority, he shall not, remember that, he shall not be obliged to exercise that function in accordance with the advice of that person or authority. What that means in plain and simple language is that, yes, he can confer with the Prime Minister about certain things, but he doesn't have to agree with him. He does not have to. It says right here, he shall not be obliged to exercise that function in accordance with the advice of that person or authority. So the Prime Minister says, look, I want to have a SO, you know, I'd like to declare an SOE. The Governor General has the right, constitutional right to say, no, I'm not going to do it. And then it goes on to, section 32, subsection 4, gives him even further powers. So he has the power to say no to the Prime Minister or anyone in the country. 4 makes it even more abundantly clear. Because keep in mind that the Governor General does not represent the people of Jamaica. He represents the monarchy. Subsection 4 says, where the Governor General is directed to exercise any function in accordance with the recommendation or advice of, or with the concurrence of, or after consultation with, or on the representation of any person or authority, the question whether he has so exercised that function shall not be inquired into any court. So you can't even take him to court to say, look, the Governor General is not acting in accordance with his role in the Constitution.
In other words, he's above the law of the land.
He is above the law of the land according to section 32, according to section 3 of the Constitution, 32, section 3, subsections 3 and 4. Again, let me repeat that. Chapter 3 of the Constitution, entitled Chapter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms. Chapter 3, section 32, subsections 3 and 4. People, read it for yourselves. Read it. So all of those people would tell you that his role is purely ceremonial and him not have no choice, him have to sign off on things. It clearly says that he does not have to agree with anything, with anyone that he's consulted with regarding any decision. And you cannot take him to court to say that he's not acting in accordance with it. I guess the only recourse is to write to the king, because he represents the king. So the Jamaican courts, they have no jurisdiction over him.
Very interesting. I want you to listen to something. I hope it comes out, I hope it comes over clearly to what the Prime Minister said this morning. I pray and hope it comes over clearly.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jamaica, and the persons living and listening from overseas to this transmission on social media. This morning at just past midnight, His Excellency, the Governor General, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, declared 2 states of public emergency. One in the entire parish of St. Anne, Clarendon, St. Catherine, and specified areas in the parishes of Kingston and St. Andrew. The other is in the entire parishes of St. James, Westmoreland, and Hanover. The government, after careful consideration on the advice of the security chiefs, decided to advise the Governor General that it was necessary and indeed appropriate to declare states of public emergency in these areas. Since the end of the last state of emergency, we have seen, unfortunately, an increase in criminal activities in these areas, and indeed a threat.
For the interest of time, Mr. Rattigan, you hear what the Prime Minister says, listeners and viewers of this noble program, led by Jeffrey Tavares, the Defender, and Wilfred Rattigan, the Rebel, on the advice of the Prime Minister of Jamaica, a state of public emergency was issued in several parishes across the length and breadth of Jamaica. So in other words, if
by
the
whom?
By
whom? By whom?
By the Governor General of Jamaica.
Okay, I rest my case.
If the Governor General of Jamaica do not sign off on it, it can't happen. So the question must be asked of the Governor General. Why is it that you do not question the Prime Minister and the the Homeless Administration? Why are you using a state of emergency to solve the crime pandemic in Jamaica? Why can't you, as a Governor General, who you are the chief servant of the people of this country, or the chief servant of the King of England?
Correct.
Because if you don't sign off on it, go ahead.
The chief servant of the King of England, who is the leader of, who's the head of state for Jamaica.
There you go. What they call it? The de facto head of state.
De facto head of, yeah, the Governor General is the de facto head of state of Jamaica because he represents the monarchy, the king, and the king is, based on the Constitution, the king is the head of state of Jamaica, not the Prime Minister. People need to understand this. And you said the thing about it, Defender, is that people don't hear, they hear state of emergency, but they don't hear who's declaring it. This is the Prime Minister standing up there and think that, okay, fine, he's doing it. No, he has to consult with the Governor General. And then the Governor General is the one who says, okay, fine, go ahead, you can have the state of emergency. The Governor General, based on the section I just read, he has the right to say, no, we're not gonna go there. We're not gonna do it. And here's why I mean, why I love my mother to death, man. God bless her soul. Because she sent me to go to school and said, read, boy, read and understand. Because if you go back to same section 13, chapter 3 of the Constitution, entitled Chapter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms. If you go to section 20, right? Section 20, subsection 2, it talks about what the Governor General can do with a period of public disaster or a period of public emergency. And they say a period of public emergency is any period where Jamaica is engaged in a war with a foreign nation, or if the Parliament decides that if the Parliament is threatened by subversion, right? Or the third part is if there is a proclamation by the Governor General declaring that a state of emergency exists, not the Prime Minister. That is section 20, subsection B. If people just read the Constitution, then it goes further. Section 20 of chapter 3 of the Constitution, subsection 2. Let me repeat. Go to section 3 of the Constitution, chapter 3 of the Constitution, section 20 of chapter 3, and then go to subsection 2 of section 20. And you will see where it says a proclamation made by the Governor General, and it starts telling you, it says, a proclamation made by the Governor General shall not be effective unless it is declared that the Governor General is satisfied. Satisfied of what? One, that there's a public emergency because of the imminence of a war between Jamaica and a foreign state. Two, a public disaster, hurricane, earthquake, flood, fire, pestilence, pandemic. And three, that action has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person or body of persons of such a nature and on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public safety. Now, let me break that down for the audience. First thing is that any action contemplated by, any action taken or contemplated by a person or a body of persons, it must be immediate, immediately threatened, right? That's the first thing. Well, no, the first thing is actually you have to identify who this person or this body of persons, who these people are. Then the second thing is once you identify them, you have to say, you have to articulate that what they're planning to do is immediate, and that whatever it is that they're planning to do that is immediate, it is of such a nature and on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public safety. So the question now is, for this state of emergency, who is the person you're talking about that they're declaring the state of emergency for? Who's that person? Or who are those people? We haven't heard. We haven't heard. And according to this, you have to identify the people. The second thing is, what action have they taken? Or what action are they threatening that is immediate and of such a nature to impact public safety? They can't tell us. They can't. Did you hear him say, okay, we're declaring a state of emergency for Mr. Jeffrey Tavares? He never said that. Did you hear him say, oh, we're declaring a state of emergency for the Jeffrey Tavares group? Never said that. Never said that. Go ahead.
Based on what he said, though, Mr. Rattigan, the rebel, he said that the state of emergency is based on criminal elements in the society.
Who are these criminal elements?
We don't know. If maybe it's the parliament. We don't know.
That's what I'm saying. He should be specific. And then the other thing he has to say is, it's one thing to identify, but then he has to say that whatever they're doing or whatever they're planning is immediate. Where is the immediacy? You know when this would come into effect, like the incursion in Tivoli. That would be the perfect example of
in 2010.
Yeah, perfect example of a declared state of emergency. Justified.
Because a member of the press, I think it was a Gleaner, a member of the Gleaner, the Gleaner group, asked him a question. If he intend to have an extension of the public state of emergency continuously, based on what is going on, if the opposition do not agree with him to extend it, he can go back and,
yes,
and get another 14 days again.
Right. The extension would be for 30 days, up to 30 days.
Yeah, but
he can go back. There's no restriction on the amount of time he can go back and ask for 14 days.
Right.
There's no restriction on that. You know, so he can do that. There's not a problem with that. And like I said, then there's another element to this, and that is, how is it being implemented? But before you even get to it being implemented, he hasn't satisfied the requirements here. He hasn't satisfied the requirements. He has to say, oh, and the other thing is that it says that the action that has been taken or is immediately threatened by any persons or body of persons, meaning that the action they've taken or the action they're planning to take, it must be immediate and it must be of such a nature that it will impact public safety. No, they tell us that because of the crime, because of this last state of emergency, the crime rate has dropped significantly. So why you need another one now? Where is the justification for this new one?
But I think he will say this because in Westmoreland at a checkpoint, we had a checkpoint a couple of days ago. Somebody was brutally gunned down, and an American citizen was gunned down in their home in St. Anne. So he may say that that's the reason why we need a state of emergency.
Well, here's the question then. Why is it that we have to wait for them to shoot down an American citizen or one person at a checkpoint? What about all the murders that were committed from January till November? Why didn't he say, oh, you know what? Why didn't he call a state of emergency for the policeman that was killed? Or the policemen, 6 of them have been killed. Why didn't he call a state of emergency and said, look, people are mounting an attack against our policemen, and this is an attack against the fabric of our society, and therefore we have to call a state of emergency. The problem with that is, who are you going to call it against? Who? To say, well, we're doing it against criminal elements. What does that mean? That means you can call it anytime, because Jamaica is full of criminal elements, and as you said, some of them in the high places. So it makes no sense. And the Governor General, people need to, in fact, I'm trying to find out the procedure now to write to King Charles to say, listen, there is a court order preventing the government from implementing the states of emergency the way they've been doing in the past, and they continue to roughshod over that court decision, even though it's pending. They're supposed to abide by it, and your representative, King Charles, who is supposed to be a man of good morals, a man who represents good governance, a man who represents the rule of law, he is running roughshod over the Constitution and a court decision by signing off on these things. So you need to check him. You need to get rid of this man. We need to start doing something like that.
We are going to take a commercial break here and make we talk. It is 11:31. We're listening, watching from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean. This is Make We Talk with Jeffrey Tavares, the defender, and Wilfred Rattigan, the rebel. We'll be right back.
Lord, please don't sell out. My highland don't sell out.
Become the hero on the scene by taking the COVID vaccine. Get vaccinated as soon as you get all the facts. Don't listen to the rumors. This vaccine might just make it possible for teachers to sit face to face with schoolers. This vaccine make it safe for everybody, from the young to the elderly. Don't you want to go back to living normally when things were more orderly? And if you want to live a long good life, then we all have to do what's right. So let's get vaccinated along with the heroes at the front line.
Showtime!
DJs in Promotion proudly presents the return of Showtime. Clarendon meets Kingston on Saturday, December 10, 2022 at Strings Variety Store, 50 Olympic Way, Kingston, 11 Jamaica. Featuring Black Her, Ras Bogle, India Celine, Najee, Mr. Burtus, Sensa T, Ashore, Patrick Badu, Emmanuel Chin, Jabi, Anilian, Just Chris, Nature Ellis, and Gotcha. Clarendon Massive, Bubba Wiseman, Emmanuel Stain, Stratos Garden, Garrison Youth, Volcano, Hammer One, and Swagger. It's gonna be awesome. Music will be provided by Creation Sound with DJ Candyman and DJ Rubber. Guest DJ Mark Watson, and of course, yours truly will be the MC. It's gonna be awesome. Lots of giveaways will be happening, so make it a date and don't be late. On December 10th, the return of Showtime at String Variety Store, 50 Olympic Way, Kingston, 11 Jamaica. Make sure you come out early.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
Hi, I'm Marcia.
I'm Adrian. Join us this and every Wednesday morning for Extraordinary Abilities on Roots 96.1 FM. Join us for news, views, and interviews with extraordinary people. Extraordinary Abilities every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Extraordinary Radio Station, Roots 96.1 FM. It's gonna be fun, informative, and educational, but most of all, it will be extraordinary. Extraordinary.
This is Pastor Aretha Taylor with Kingdom Faith International Ministries and Missions, and these are my testimonies. Please join me as I share with you my testimonies about my life-impacting spiritual journey of brokenness, hurt, homelessness, betrayal, abandonment, fear, anger, rejection, abuse, and so much more. Right here on Roots 96.1 FM every first Sunday starting December 4th at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Looking forward to sharing with you.
Welcome back to Make We Talk here on Roots 96.1 FM. We're listening from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean. I'm speaking to Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent attorney at law, dubbed himself as the Rebel. I must say good morning to our good friend Wayne Lonesome, and also our other good friend Conrad O'Brien. We're speaking about Jamaica's democracy, the state of Jamaica's democracy. We're speaking about the SOE. We're going to switch gear to corruption now because we don't have enough time here. We're going to speak about Petra Jam scandal of 5.3 billion. Ministry of Education, Youth and Information of 700 million. Ministry of Finance, where former Minister of Finance, the man of Yard, Audley Shaw, had a phone bill of $8.34 million. And then we have the $200 million to purchase high-end vehicles for politicians and $16.7 million for a BMW for the Prime Minister of Jamaica's fleet of diplomatical cars or official cars. Then you have the Ministry of Tourism sign scandal. One sign in a Negril costs so much million. Then one sign in a Montego Bay costs 17.8 million. Bring it up to 62 point something million dollars. Then you have the building of garbage bins for $35 million and build garbage bin for. Huh? What is going on in this country? Mr. Rattigan, unmute your mic and tell me if you know what's going on. So much corruption. It stinks like Riverton Dome. The Petra Jam scandal, and I know you hear nothing about Petra Jam scandal.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, you know. Before I go any further, don't get me wrong, you know. The People's National Party has a fear for them scandal. They have traffic euro scandal. They have Cuban light bulb scandal. They have Shell waiver scandal. They have furniture scandal too. All the scandals in this country couldn't pay off Jamaica's debt and build more hospital and school give us. Rebel, go ahead, sir.
You know, Defender, it's a difficult subject, and I'll tell you why it's a difficult subject for me. Because as you know, I come from out the bowels of society. Come from Waterhouse. I used to go to Riverton Dome or search through the dongle. I never know at times where my next meal was coming from. I sleep on Spanish Town Road. I know suffering. I know it. And when I look on the poor people, and I look how much money has been sent to Jamaica to deal with issues regarding vulnerable communities, otherwise known as poor people. And I say that the monies have not been spent in the ways that they were directed to be spent. When I go back and I look at some of the communities that I left years and years and years ago, and I see that, in fact, they're worse now. Even though more money is being poured into Jamaica, the communities are worse off than when I left. It's heartbreaking. It's sad. It almost brings me to tears sometimes when I think about those things. Let's take, for example, and you mentioned a whole bunch of scandals, a litany of them,
Yes, sir.
but it's not an exhaustive list because we still have more that you haven't even mentioned. Let's take, for example, the one with the Ministry of Health, because health is very important to a nation. The first mistake we made was and it didn't appear to a lot of people at the time that it was a mistake, but it's turning out to be a mistake, was where we put a marketing PhD in charge of our health system. And we use his title, doctor, but it was misleading because a lot of people thought that he was a medical doctor. Some people still think that he's a medical doctor. Some people in Jamaica, they don't know.
Then
That
it's
is-
the same way, I'll cut you a minute there, Mr. Rattigan. The same way some people in the churches think that some of the pastors are doctors, you know. I have Dr. Metropolitan Premier of the Holy Hill Zion Church, Dr. this and Dr. that. And some of them buy the doctorate in the church. Go ahead, sir. I can behave myself.
Right. So that's the first mistake we made. And we put him there. And we were bragging and boasting when COVID started, saying, oh, he's doing a wonderful job. And I'll never forget, I spoke to a very dear friend of mine in Jamaica, and I said to him, listen, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We shouldn't be patting ourselves on the back because I think it's going to get worse. And it did get worse. Now, here's the scandalous part. Jamaica received, I would venture to say, close to or in excess of $1 billion to deal with the COVID pandemic. I know of 3 agencies that provided Jamaica with amounts totaling almost $750 million. And those were loans. And they were earmarked for 2 purposes: businesses and vulnerable communities. Now, I've done an unofficial survey, and a lot of people did not get those cash amounts because there was so much bureaucracy set up with it, where they have to have a bank account, they have to have this, they have to be able to go online and all that stuff. I hope our country people, not only country people, people in our town, to a lot of people, I should say.
And even a lot of the taxi drivers and bus drivers hasn't gotten their $25,000 until now.
Yeah, because a lot of them,
where is that money now?
Yeah, the money went back. The money went back to I think the consolidated fund or whatever fund they call it. But nobody know it was supposed to go back, but nobody has been tracking and tracing those funds, right? And like I was saying, a lot of people, because they're not used to technology, like me, when they set up all of these bureaucratic hurdles, people couldn't jump over them, because they're not familiar with the system, they don't have access. They just want you to come, they just want to say, show up at the center and we'll give you money, you sign for it. That didn't happen. So the money was disbursed to the Ministry of Health to take care of Jamaicans. Now, what we are discovering now is that through the assessment done by the Auditor General, we're now being given the understanding that monies went in and out of the Ministry of Health, and in lots of cases, they can't account for the monies. We have monies being sent to agencies or groups for non-COVID purposes. We have them buying 40-something televisions. For what? For what purpose? We still don't know. So money, and I think they said it's somewhere, I think it's either 200 or 400 million US dollars that somehow passed through there without proper accounting. And we just heard on Sunday that the hospitals are in deplorable condition.
Because not even bathroom. The permanent Secretary of Health have her, what I call it, ceramic tile and all kind of tile bathroom, Meanwhile, the poor pauperizing people of this country have to be using deplorable condition. The health sector have been using some bathroom, and not even Christopher Tufton would not go in. You see? And the people of the Vumvavi can go up to Tony Twaits and fly out on their private jet and go to Miami Remember when Michael managed to 5 flights a day? Want to see what's going on in this country? The
Well,
people of this country pay taxes. This government collect too much the amount of taxes this government collect. Mr. Rattigan.
yes.
Surpass any other government. And you're telling me that the health sector in this country is at what? You're telling me that people they don't have a proper bathroom to go into and use?
Let me ask you a question.
It's a disgrace.
Well, let me finish up that story, and then I want to ask you a question. The story broke this past Sunday that some of the hospitals are in deplorable conditions. No toilet paper, no soap, dirty, no toilet, no water. You know, a whole bunch of things wrong with it. And then the minister came on. The minister was on the radio yesterday, and he said, "Listen, he blamed the patrons and the patients first. Then he blamed the hospital administrators. Then he blamed the regional administrators. Never once did he say, you know what, folks? I am the minister of health. I take full responsibility that whatever goes on in my ministry. I was not aware that this was going on. I am now aware, and I will address this issue." That's what a leader would do. You don't blame people below you and says, this one is that one, is that one. No.
But Mr. Rattigan, didn't the Prime Minister in his speech to the Labour Party conference said that he has been getting call about the Ministry of Health? And they're justified.
You're 100% correct. I was just about to get to that, saying that we don't know why this minister is still there, because the Prime Minister said it, as you alluded to it. He said that, yeah, I've been getting calls about, let me see if I don't have it here, but I would read up I took copious notes, but he said, I'm getting calls about services, equipment, and something else. And he said, and they're all justified. And then he went on to say, but, you know, I want to recognize the minister for the job that he's doing. No, anywhere else that man would be fired. He would be fired. But here he's allowed to retain his position and continue to occupy, not only occupy the position, but also get his salary and the benefits. Meanwhile, the poor people, they're not getting anything. They're not getting proper medical services. So, you know, this is a type of corruption that we're talking about, that we need to do something about it. And I think we're going to come up with a plan so that we can empower poor people and let them know that there are things that they can do. They don't have to sit around and accept this. There are things that they can do to get the attention of the government. Because what we're trying to do here, we're not talking about change a regime or trying to get rid of the government. We're saying we just want the government to be responsive and responsible. That's all. And in the case where they cannot be, like in a case of a Minister Chang or a Minister Tufton or a Minister Williams, where where time and time again they've demonstrated their inability to deal with the issue. They've shown that they're incapable of running the ministries. In those cases, we would say it's time for them to go.
And you know something, Mr. Rattigan, as you talk about the Minister of National Security, Jeffrey, behave yourself. Don't say insecurity this morning. Behave yourself, Jeffrey. Behave. The Minister of National Security and Justice, who is the Deputy Prime Minister. A question was asked on a radio station yesterday, and I find it very funny too. Why? Yes, it falls under his portfolio too, as Minister of Economic Growth, or whatever they want to call it, for cybersecurity, Darrell Vaz. But why is it, even this morning, the Prime Minister is going to Washington to talk about security, and the Minister of National Security not going? Darrell Vaz went to Israel to talk about security and cybersecurity, and the Minister of National Security not going. The question must be asked now. What is going on with the minister? Why is it that he doesn't have a passport to travel?
Look,
Wilfred Rattigan.
Look, let me just say this, that I don't know why he's not going, but it's strange that he's not going. It's bewildering. It's confusing because he's the Minister of National Security, so he should be going. The other thing is that if you remember WikiLeaks, that the cables that came out of the US where they insinuated the minister's relationship with gangs and criminality, right? And it's very clear. It's right there. If you go back and you look at those cables, there is always the possibility that the U.S. government, and I know because I worked for the U.S. government for almost 30 years, that they may have something up their sleeves and they're waiting for him to come to grab him. It's a possibility, because what would happen is that they wouldn't have to send an extradition order. You remember the guy from the British was it the British Virgin Island?
Yes.
Where they caught him in Miami?
Yes.
Similarly. Well, they who knows? They could have something like that where they're just waiting for him to come and then they just grab him. So it could be. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But I've seen it happen before where they just said, look, you know what? Let's just wait for him to travel, because if we send an extradition order, he's not going to travel. It's going to take forever. It's going to languish down there and whatnot. It's easier for him to, have him travel and then we'll grab him.
Because I find it very funny. Yes, cyber fall under Daryl Vaugh's portfolio, but securities fall under the Deputy Prime Minister's portfolio.
If you go back and you read the consensus on crime and you read the other things that fall within his portfolio, you'll see that cyber is one of them. So it may be shared with the Ministry of Science, Energy, and Technology, but that's it. It's shared. He has a responsibility too. He has a cyber responsibility or a cyber security responsibility.
And I find it very funny this morning also when I hear the Prime Minister say that he's going to Washington to speak to the Justice Department and other departments and the FBI. He spoke about the FBI too. And the Minister of National Security will not be on, his entourage or his delegation to go. Something not adding up here. Something wrong in a John shop.
Well, look.
Don't you trouble Zion. Zion alone. Go ahead.
It's going to be interesting to hear him talk to Department of Justice and its affiliates, because it's my understanding. I don't know this for a fact. I don't know that this happened for a fact, but I have been told that there is information about several ministers that has been collected by the US government. And you know what? We shouldn't be surprised, because look at the cables out of WikiLeaks. We shouldn't be surprised. So it's going to be interesting when some of these guys show up and they're talking, and the FBI, they're sitting there, because the FBI, before they meet anyone, they do their background. Any leader, they do their background, and anybody's going to sit in that meeting, they know exactly who this person is, what the US government has on this person. So if the person is a criminal, they sit there and they're just laughing and they're just playing games with you, and they listen and they talk, because remember, the first concern of the US government is its safety and security. That's the first concern. It's interest. What is the interest? Even though they'll sit across from a criminal and they say, what can we get out of him? And so when he's sitting there, if he's talking about the whole of government approach, he should see how it's done in the US. Every agency who has anything on the Prime Minister or his entourage, they all pull all of that together and there's a one document. And you're saying, we have this on him, we have that on him, he's this person, he's that person. From the day he was born until now, they have all of that information. So when they're sitting there talking to him and he's talking, they already know what he's going to be asking for. And they already know what the answer is going to be. They do a comprehensive study.
Because I don't think since the goodly Minister of National Security become Minister of National Security, I've never heard that he traveled.
Yeah, and I don't think, look, and the way he, the frayed relationship that he has with the diaspora, I don't know if he would be well received. I mean, they booed the Prime Minister's wife the other day. I think he would get a louder boo. He would get a louder boo. So I don't think he's going to be well received.
Wilfred Rattigan, we don't have enough time. He leave on Roots 96.1 FM. We're trying to go over until about 15 after 12 o'clock, but I don't think we can because a lot of people want to watch the World Cup.
Right.
And you know, but I think at 7 o'clock we will be going live pertaining to the transport ministry. I see we're in the former MD, Managing Director of the Transport Authorities, licking out against Audley Shaw. We're going to speak more about that this evening at 7 o'clock. But what is going on in our country, and we're speaking about now, I wonder if these people have poor people interests at heart.
No.
Because the amount of corruption, the amount of mismanagement of public funds of poor people money, plundering poor people money, and across both administrations, none of them no better. No better barrel, no better herring of poor people money. You wonder, and you ask questions, is this going to continue? That we're talking about a 2030 vision where the crime in our country is out of whack, the corruption in our country stinks to the highest heaven.
Look, let me just jump in before I forget this part. You know, if I were given the opportunity to ask the Prime Minister a question, here's a question I would ask him. I would say, Mr. Prime Minister, with all due respect, sir, can you say unequivocally, unabashedly, and without any reservation, that you have never been involved with any corruption, that you are not aware of any corruption taking place in your government, and that you have not been in a position where you could have prevented it, but you didn't? That three-part, one question, three-part, that's the question I'd like to ask him and hear his answer. And remember what I said a while back, that as a lawyer, you're trained, you never ask a question, or you shouldn't, unless you know the answer. And the other one part as an FBI agent is that when you ask a question, you're not asking it you're not asking it to get an answer only. You're asking it to get to the truth. So I asked those questions with those two hats, wearing those two hats.
Mr. Rattigan, ask the question again. Can I never hear you, sir? Me is deaf.
The question is, Mr. Prime Minister, with all due respect, sir, can you, without reservation, unabashedly, state unequivocally that you have never been involved in any scheme, any corruption scheme, any scheme to defraud anyone, any scheme, period. That's the first one. Second one is, can you state unequivocally, categorically, that you've never been aware of any corruption scheme or intent or anything of that nature? And the third part is, can you say that you've never been aware of it and you were in a position to stop it and didn't? So did you participate in it? Did you know about it? And did you know about it and didn't stop it? And did you benefit from it? That's a question I'd like to ask him. And again, remember, I'm going to ask a question based on two principles. One is, you don't ask a question if you don't know the answer. And the second one is, I'm asking a question to get to the truth, not to get an answer. So.
We're live on Make We Talk on Roots 96.1 FM. We're also live on the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. I was just sending information that we should go over until about 12:15, Mr. Rattigan. Can you oblige me, sir?
Yes, sir.
You know, the question that Mr. Rattigan just asked, It is now 11:59, 11:58. And, you know, we need to say goodbye to Roots and the 6.1 FM. I want to say to my listeners over there, come over to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. We're going to continue. And my deepest condolence to Mr. Russell Hammond's family. He's a former member of parliament for Central Westmoreland who passed away. My condolences to his family and other members of his deeper family, you know, extended family. I am Jeffrey Tavares saying thank you all for listening us. Thank you all for listening to Jeffrey Tavares, the Rebel, Jeffrey Tavares, the Defender, and Wilfred Rattigan, the Rebel, returning to the studios of Roots 96.1 FM.
Monkeypox is in Jamaica.
Yes, Mr. Rattigan.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna continue over here because you asked a question a while ago that honestly it sort of have me dumbfounded in a sense. And can the Prime Minister truly answer that question?
Well, look, as the representative of the people, as the leader of a party, as the leader of the government, not the de facto head of state, but leader of the government that claims to be transparent and open and accountable. Of course, that's a perfectly legitimate question that he should be able to answer without any problems. He should. The only one of those 3 questions, or the 4 questions he would answer, is the one: have you been aware of any alleged or proven corruption within your government? He'll answer that because you know why? Allegedly, Rural Reed and a few other people. So he will say, yes, I'm aware of it. But he won't answer the first question about his involvement. And he won't answer the third question about knowing and not preventing it or benefiting from it. He won't. I'm hoping that he does, though. I'm hoping that he does. But my personal feeling is that he won't. And as a result of him not wanting, my belief, not wanting to answer the first and the third questions, then he's not going to answer the second one because he doesn't want to be led down the primrose path of saying, well, you answer the second one. So what's the problem about answering the first? What's the problem about answering the third? But I'm telling you that whatever he's done, and there have been rumors, but I don't put stock in rumors. Whatever he's done, he knows what he's done. He also knows what he hasn't done, because you know you have criminal acts of omission and commission. Sometimes you don't do a thing and it's a criminal act, right? Because you didn't do something that you're supposed to do. And the other one is commission, when you did something that you're not supposed to do. But it's my firm belief that he will not answer these questions. He will not. He will not. Because like I said, he knows what he's done, he knows what he hasn't done. And I'm telling you, if there's one place where all this information is stored, it's the US government. If there's one place it's stored, they know. So he's going to Washington, and I'm just laughing because I've done these things before. I've done where heads of state, heads of agencies, all these people, they come in and they want to talk to the FBI about resources and plans and relationship and all that stuff. And we're sitting there and we're going, and sometimes we hear these platitudes from these leaders or whatnot, and deep down we're laughing, and even after they're gone, we're laughing, because we know that these guys are criminals, man. Because we have the stuff. We have the stuff on them, and so we'll talk amongst ourselves and say, okay, this guy's this, and that. And when he comes in, he's probably going to say this, he's probably going to say that. And here's the answer. We're going to tell him this, we're going to tell him that. And then once he's out the room, then we have a after action meeting. And then we say, okay, all right. Now he came in and he said this, and that. We said this and that. All right, what are we going to do now next? What are we going to do?
What do you think he's going to talk to the State Department about and the FBI and those people about pertaining to the crime situation in our country?
He says he's going to go there and he's going to talk to them about, well, no, he said, remember the conference. He said that he's looking to them for help regarding scanners at the ports.
And sending guns over
exactly,
in the barracks.
Exactly. and he's, but again, they're going to be laughing because they're going to say, well, you talk about border security, but yet still, more than 1,000 pounds of cocaine were found.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're here talking to us about border security again and about drugs and whatnot. Why can't you protect your borders? Why can't you? And the thing about it is that if he makes a mistake, if he ever makes a mistake of talking about diaspora members to the government, and somehow that comes out, the government is going to be in a lot of problems. The U.S. government, if he comes in and he starts talking about, like for example, starts talking about me and you and the other folks, and we are U.S. citizens, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a big problem.
In what sense would it be a problem?
It'd be a problem because then he's asking them to information about U.S. citizens. And they're going to say, well, wait a minute, hold on 1 second. We can't, unless these U.S. citizens are committing a crime in your country, our conversation cannot elevate to that level. And what's going to happen is that they're going to make a note of this. There'll be a note that, hey, he's asking about these folks, what's going on. And I mean, I know I'm being monitored, so that's fine, it's not a problem. But for somebody, a foreign government, in this case, it would be a foreign government coming to the US to say, hey, we want to know, these guys are stirring up trouble and they're causing problems with our population, blah, 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 blah. I'm just saying it may not go that far, but it would be unwise of him to do that. So he's coming and he's going to be asking about scanners. He's going to be asking about assistance with to help with drugs, assistance to help with importation of illegal firearms into the country. He's probably going to even be asking, he's going to be talking about more assistance to help with scamming. He's going to talk about assistance to help the JCF training. He's going to talk about all of those things. But I'm telling you right now, the US Embassy, they have done a report on Jamaica already. And that's going to beat him to Washington. And those cables, when they come, they're going to say all kinds of things about him and his government. And one of them I can tell you is that it's going to say the government is corrupt. I mean, I'm almost sure it's going to say that.
So if they say that his administration is corrupt,
or beset by corruption, that's what they're right. The language, beset by corruption. Yeah.
If they say that, then are they still going to really help in the sense of donor funds and those things?
They'll help because at the end of the day, it's about American interests. And if they figure a way where he can help either with the UN or CARICOM, then or help with stopping the inflow of drugs into the US, then yeah, they'll work. Look, at the end of the day, they'll work even with their enemies. The US government will work with its enemies, provided there is a benefit to be gained by the US government and population. So if they think that, okay, you know what? All right, fine. He's a devil over here, but over here, he might be an angel. Let's keep the devil part to ourselves, and then let's openly proclaim the angel part, saying that this guy's a great guy, blah, 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 blah. But they already have the goods on him. So that's why I'm saying, if this Prime Minister, most honorable Andrew Holness, if he's guilty of anything, and by the way, you see all those rumors that people have stated over the years about his involvement with, they're talking about his sudden wealth, coming from nowhere, having a 9-to-5, and then suddenly he's wealthy. Those allegations, believe me, they have been investigated already by the US government. They have the answer to all of this stuff. They have. So they know.
We were trying to get the fireman to come on before we go off, but no answer from his phone.
You see us?
Yes, so I don't know if maybe you can assist me to get him to call my number. to come on.
Well,
Because
man.
we need to know, we need to see what is going on in this country of ours. The Minister of National Security has not traveled to meet with other counterparts within the region, to meet with other counterparts within the Americas pertaining to security in our country. The Prime Minister is on his way to Washington this morning after he's going to leave from the opening of a hospital in Clarendon to speak to members of the State Department and members of the FBI. But you know, we have been asking the question, why is it the Minister of National Security or the Deputy Prime Minister don't travel? We get the answer, one of the answers, maybe, we're just speculating.
Yeah.
From Wilfred Rattigan is not, we don't have any proof, we're just speculating. You know?
Well, we have proof of the WikiLeaks cable, because that
Right.
came out, that's a public knowledge. But we're speculating that maybe because of what's in the cable, put out by the US government, by the US Embassy in Jamaica, sent to the state, sent to Washington, D.C., because when it got to Washington, D.C., it's probably disseminated to a variety of agencies, or maybe at post in Jamaica is disseminated to a bunch of agencies, that because of that, he's probably thinking, and he knows because it was public knowledge, it came out, that he's probably saying, you know what, and it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
For him not to travel.
Yeah, that's a look. I would chill out for now because I don't know if I don't know what else these people know. You know, I don't know what else they know, and they may have something waiting for me.
And based on how they dubbed you as an FBI agent and still an FBI agent, maybe you said something in the past that maybe he said, you know what, Rattigan has something, so I prefer stay put.
Hold on 1 second there. I get in a car. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. Stay right there.
No.
Get on a van.
We're speaking to Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent, an attorney at law. We're speaking about Jamaica's corruption, Jamaica's crime pandemic, and what is going on in our beloved country. Why is it that the Deputy Prime Minister, who's the Minister of National Security, hasn't gone overseas to meet with his counterparts? You know? What is going on? Unmute your mic, Mr. Rattigan.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
That
sir.
was a call. That was a call from an inner city community. A gentleman from there. He said that your program is being listened to by a large gathering in a certain location, and they're very pleased with the work that we're putting out, that we're performing. They're very pleased. They said nobody in Jamaica is talking the way that we're talking, and we're not only are we talking, but we're the kind of research that we're doing, and that now they understand what's going on, and it's very educational because the things that we're talking about they didn't know. They simply didn't know, and they said. They said that these two guys, man, they're very brave because they said, you know, they said nobody in Jamaica at this point is talking about the things that these men are talking about. Nobody. So there we are talking. Big up on yourself from the community. They don't know what we are talking about.
Yes. I must say good afternoon to that community in the inner city. The inner city community, you must wake up and smell the roses, smell the coffee. Stop make people turn on an idiot and go to chicken back and dirty girl to vote. Those days are over. The time has come for us in this country of ours to speak out, rise up peacefully, and call a spade a spade. We can't be a Labour Party member or a PNP member. We can't say the PNP dead or the PNP alive or the JLP dead or the JLP alive. We must speak about Jamaica. We came here by Labour plane, not by aeroplane. When we're born out of our mother wombs, we're born as Jamaicans and as Labour Party members or PNP members. So I'm saying to my fellow friends and family in the inner city, hold strain, but speak out. Do not be a person who you shut your mouth because what? No, man. And I'm not come fooling every 5 years. I'm going to $5,000. And after the $5,000 down on the dead for hungry. 5,000 I can't buy a month's dinner. On the vote is not for sale. Members of the inner city, your votes are not for sale. It is your constitutional right to vote or not to vote. If they're not going to money, take the damn money and run them. But not selling the vote. Mr. Rattigan, your final word because we can't get to fireman.
Yeah, I call him, but he's not responding. Final word for the program. This Saturday on www.reggaeglobalradio.com.
And also on this program too.
Yeah. Between
4
the
to
hours
6.
of 4 and 6.
Yes.
Reason with Rattigan will be broadcasted. And my guests this week, Saturday, will be none other than Jeffrey Defender Tavares and Conrad Fireman O'Brien. And people, you must tune in because what we seek to do is educate the population. We don't seek to entertain the population because they have enough entertainment down in Jamaica. I mean, we are the entertainment capital. So what we're doing, we're trying to educate the people. And when we say the people, the masses, because there are people in Jamaica who have this knowledge, but it's a minority and they're not sharing it for obvious reasons. They're not sharing it with the masses because they know if they share it with the masses, then it will be a different day in Jamaica because people will start standing up for their rights. They'll be clamoring for their rights. They'll be demonstrating for their rights and things will have to change. So I'm asking your listeners, please tune in this Saturday for a continuation of this, because one of the things we also do is not only do we educate you about the issues, but we also provide instruction. We provide guidance as to how you can go about to making that change. And we, as always, we say the change that we're seeking for Jamaica, it must be legal, it must be lawful, and it must be peaceful. Thank you very much, Jeffrey, for having me on. Big up yourself, Defender.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rattigan, the rebel. And I'm going to say this now. The change we seek in our country will never come from the People's National Party or from the Jamaica Labour Party. The change that we seek in our country comes from us Jamaicans. Take off the political hats, take off the Labour Party and the comrade hats, and put on the hat of a Jamaican. The rock that you were born on. Our country is bleeding. Our country needs help. Think about the Jamaica we're going to leave for our children. And I say this to my fellow Jamaicans. Rise up if you can, but rise up peacefully. Speak out. Speak out peacefully. Stand up peacefully. Because the change that we're seeking, as I said before, will never come from Michelangelo Holness or Mark Jefferson Golding. It will come from us as a people. We the people. We the people. We have the power, Jamaicans. We put them there, we can take them down. We have the power in our hand, not them. And stop referring to them as wanting boss, give me something to boss. They are our servant. We pay them, they don't pay us. my fellow Jamaicans, until you hear my voice again, until you hear us speak out for you all, until you hear us stand up for you all, may God bless you and may God bless Jamaica land we love. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. And join us this Saturday evening, live on the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. I'll be speaking to Wilfred Rattigan, the rebel. God bless you. Love you all.